All right. Okay, so again, guys, use chat if you have any issues, and Akeen, do the same, man. Just hit me up, direct message or whatever if we run into any more problems, because like I said, I can't see it if I'm over there in the view. Go ahead and let Matthew in. All right, Matthew's back. All right, so let's go ahead and hop on over there. Share my screen. All right, so we were here, right? I'm gonna go ahead and view. All right, so we're almost done here with the sales and marketing side. You guys understand higher budgets, minimum knowledge of lead gen generally, they've been burned. You know, this is the next rung in the ladder. These can be really ideal clients for you. So, you know, just knowing how to speak to these individuals from where they're at and who they are, I think goes a long way. And I can't overemphasize that. The next ring up, you know, is vertically integrated solar company. I mean, these are the, you know, this is really what you want as a client. A vertically integrated solar company is a company that pretty much does everything in-house, right? You're going to run across these occasionally, and you know they are the ones, just the characteristics of this type of an avatar, right? They typically have their own sales component as well as their own component for handling their installation. It's all in-house. So these individual organizations, they tend to have, you know, they tend to have really good profit margin because they're doing their own internal sales. Oftentimes they're controlling what their sales reps are making based on, you know, straight commission or incentivized commission or whatever the case might be. But they are profiting really, really heavily. They may also outsource fulfillment in certain areas. It really depends, you know. On occasion, you might have a vertically integrated solar company that is starting to move into a new market, and before going whole hog into that market with various trucks and the infrastructure and all of that, that they would, for a period of time, also work with a fulfillment company in a certain area, in a certain market, right? So you oftentimes will see that. These individuals, they tend to buy lead lists. Everybody does. They are heavy on knocking doors. Knocking doors is a very low cost overhead for these individuals to manage because they're paying these door knockers based on performance for the most part. But it is a headache for them because there's so much turnover. It's hard to find good, consistent help. They're constantly in a training cycle. You know, so knocking doors, even though a lot of organizations do it, a lot of them want to quote unquote supplement by also accepting leads, you know, via online, right, from service providers like yourself. Um, they use that word supplement a lot because they don't really want to do away with their door knocking, but if they could figure out a good solution for consistent quality lead flow, then you know that's the best way to scale. These individual companies tend to have the highest budget. It's not uncommon for a vertically integrated solar company of medium size to spend $150,000 per month on lead gen, right? And that is typically what that is they're spreading their eggs amongst many different baskets, and they are working with many different lead providers, and they're trying to do an analysis to figure out who is working out and who's not working out, and then they're going to redirect their budget based on who is doing well, right? That's typically what you know, what their mode of operation is. They have several horses in the race, and they want to see who is going to be providing the best possible return. Typically, you know, they're going to look at this over a 60-90 day period for the most part, and that's fine for you, you know, because you know, as you're starting with a new client, depending on how you're starting with them, I mean, all of this takes time. It takes time to actually dial in to things that are working and working well consistently, right? So these individuals have a lot of experience working with lead providers, and they tend to give a little bit more leeway as far as patience required to help you get what you need to get done, you know. So these are ideal clients, ideal situations for you to be involved with. And they do have a knowledge of lead gen. And I don't want to, just to reiterate it, because they're used to buying leads from multiple lead providers. So they're used to having these conversations and used to going through this all the time, right? Constantly trying on lead provider after lead provider after lead provider. That's what this industry is. Everybody cycles, there's a lot of churn involved. They've all been burned before. Everybody has been burned. So knowing the market, EPC plus sales, the EPC is really, the construction side of things is the fulfillment partner. A lot of times you'll have those that have been strictly focused in on fulfilling the job, meaning installing the panels, right, and having the labor to do that, and basically purchase of the product. They are offering up a red line, or whatever the case might be. Oftentimes you have them looking to add on a sales component, right, so that they can become vertically integrated, right? And so they're adding on a sales component internally. Obviously they're working for themselves, but they could work with multiple companies. They bring the fulfillment. There's a minimum knowledge of lead gen there, because they've always been having business come to them, right, from sales and marketing organizations. And now they're faced with trying to ramp up a sales component, manage a sales component, and then manage and understand where their lead flow is going to come from, given the fact that they've layered on a sales component. These organizations tend to have pretty good money as well, right? So that's really that's the avatar, right? The different types of people that you're going to be speaking with. And the more you understand each one, the better you're going to be able to discuss opportunities. The more fluid you're going to be in your sales conversation, because they're looking for people that have experience in solar. And if you don't have that experience yet, don't worry about it. You're going to get it, right? You're going to get that experience. We aim to be able to provide, a lot of information to help support you guys, but that's the purpose of this. So all of this leads to, and this knowledge leads to you identifying what your value proposition should be when you start your sales cycle, when you start to run B2B advertising, or when you start to run organic methods of bringing interest into conversations, right? Knowing the avatars gives you the ability to create for yourself value proposition, your own unique value proposition, and what you're going to offer to your prospective clients. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, Solar Savings USA, we've been doing this since 2015, right? So we've gone through every single one of these value propositions at some point in time, right? Because as we started our progression and our growth, we've always had the retainer model, right? More recently, we kind of shifted to a pay per lead model because, there's a lot of benefits to pay per lead, especially when you're utilizing, for us, we don't run all of our own advertising these days, right? We have a ping tree setup, which allows for us to vet, qualify publishers and affiliates and people like yourself that are going to become really, really good at generating leads. We accept lead opportunities into a system that automatically distributes it to our buyer, to the people that we already have buying, right? And then there is a tracking mechanism and a feedback loop that makes the system, very advantageous to everybody involved, and I'm not going to go into too much here on why I think the ping tree is such a wonderful type of a setup, especially if you're selling pay per lead. I'm going to be doing other trainings on ping tree, and if you're a part of the course, and some of you are, we touch on ping tree there. So if you are interested in more of that, just let me know in the chat, because I want to tailor a lot of focus towards understanding ping tree. At the end of the day, you guys are getting your start learning to generate leads for yourself and for your clients, and that's what you should be doing, right? Because you have to understand it. But when you get to the point of scale, right, you can't possibly create all the volume possible for the amount of B2B interest that you're going to be bringing in and bringing to the table. So you have to graduate to a different system, and you have to kind of utilize everything at your disposal in order to supply lead opportunities to a growing network of clients, right? So ping tree, specifically pay per lead. Now, I spoke with I spoke with Akeen yesterday in a one-on-one consulting, and he's doing pay per lead. He's doing it, in a way that's great starting out. Running his own ad account, responsible for his own ad dollars, generating leads in a very competitive market at a very low cost right now, out of the gate, and then turning around and utilizing the resource that I sent over, which I sent over to my group or those that were interested, a detailed pricing guideline for market to market all over the country, right? And so he simply quoted typical price point in that market, making pretty good margin on that. That is an entry point into, that's a much smaller microcosm of what could potentially be a very larger picture, in pay per lead. And the Ping Tree, I think, solves a lot of that, right? Because it would be difficult to continue to scale B2B clients, scale the amount of volume required to service them if you're simply just running your own ads, right? So you can always grow, right? You can always get better and better, but at some point, the volume needs should be, they should require different sets of solutions. So having said that, identifying your value proposition, oftentimes people will get duped into this thought of like, you're going to speak with a lot of people out there, and they'll basically tell you, look, you can run my ads, I'll give you a budget or whatever, give me a lower fee monthly, and then I'll pay you on the back end for every sale. Well, that sounds all great. We actually did that for a good while, but the more we did it, we found it was increasingly difficult to have transparency with those sales organizations in order to get paid for those back end sales. When we were doing it, there was one particular organization in Texas, and we were having sales and sales and sales, but whenever it would come to reconcile those, they'd be very hard to get a hold of, right? And they wanted to continue to spend more and spend more and spend more and ramp up the ads, but we were left trying to chase money. So, we stopped this pretty early in the game when it got to the point of more work than what it was, than what we wanted to put into it. But you're going to get a lot of people that are going to ask you if this is possible. And it's a business decision for yourself at the given time, because if you have minimal experience and you want that ad budget to get better, you want to be able to play with other people's ad dollars to refine your skills. Sorry, there's no other way to put it. It happens, it's life, right? Then negotiate your fee and make sure that you can get as much transparency or access into the CRM and build a real relationship so that they can be transparent with you. But it's an option for you if you have minimal budget and you don't have a budget of your own, right? Just make sure that you get some amount of payment up front, because time is money and you want to get paid for it. You don't want to do it strictly for back end sales, because you're going to be left chasing money. And oftentimes these organizations are not paid a dime for a period of time. It could be 60, 90 days, 120 days, because financing happens upon go live for the system, right? So there's always a cash flow gap. So don't be stuck waiting on the cash flow gap to hit. So leads plus SaaS, right? We did this as well. We still have a software as a service that is go through Go High Level. We were providing leads and SaaS to help individuals get self-booked appointments, to organize their pipelines, because a lot of sales organizations aren't very organized. If you create a snapshot, we have a snapshot here at Solar Savings USA that we've used over the years that is pretty good at all phases of the nurturing. However, you don't want your value proposition to be tied to success simply using SaaS, because this is going to work for you a percentage of the time to get pre-booked appointments, but you don't want to rest everything, the entire relationship, on the magic of your software as a service, right? Because at the end of the day, it's always going to be a chase game with these homeowners. There's a lot of solar advertising that's ran. A lot of it is, not above board. A lot of it's false advertising. A lot of times people run the ads for free and all of this, right? So, you're going to get people that are lukewarm interested, and they have to be developed and nurtured appropriately in order to be serious enough to hop on a call, right? And that is just the nature of solar advertising. I don't say any of this to dissuade you guys from it, because it is very lucrative, and there's always buyers for leads, and there's always individuals that are looking to go solar. But it's important that you understand the industry, the good things and the difficult things about the industry. So if you're offering lead gen plus SaaS, I would minimize, right? I would simply, I would talk about SaaS in the way of functionality, but don't prop don't prop your relationship on the fact that your SaaS is going to be the end all be all to get booked appointments consistently booked. It's just not going to happen that way. Right. And if you wanted to run an ad B2B that you're going to be providing booked appointments, then your calendar would be slammed full with conversations. Everybody is looking for the easy route, and an organization is going to sign up for booked appointments. They can pay anywhere from $150 to $250 for a booked appointment, but there is a ton of work involved if you're only just trying to sell booked appointments. Not only do you have to be really efficient on your lead gen in order to get low cost leads into the door, but you also have to have your call center, your nurturing phases all set up. You're going to have to work really hard to get booked appointments booked. And then you're going to have to rely on those sales organizations to actually make good on the booked appointment, right? So there's elements there that you can't control. Oftentimes people will ask, well, can you guarantee a booked appointment? Are you willing to give a credit in case the appointment cancels? You should never do that, right? A booked appointment is a booked appointment. Your client, that solar company wanting booked appointment, should understand that there is no recourse. If it's booked appointments, it's a flat rate for a booked appointment, right? Now with booked appointments, typically what you would do is you would have the call recording to make sure that sticks, right? Because if you present your client with the booked appointment date and time and you have a call recording, then that's a lot of fuel to the fire to say, sorry, a certain percentage of these appointments are going to fall off. It's up to you as a sales organization at that point to go ahead and call them and try to reschedule the booked appointment. Okay, that would be the route that you should go if you're trying to sell booked appointments, but I don't recommend doing it. This is a distraction, right? There's enough money to be made by simply selling pay per lead or running retainer model, assuming you can provide leads, right? And that's why all of you guys are here. That's why all of you are part of the group. That's why the training is out there available to you, is to build the skill set and try to get to the point where you can be consistent at being able to have the product to be able to bring on more and more B2B acquisition and service a growing network. All right. Makes sense. So that's the end of that slide. I'm going to move over into, my Wisty account and show some videos and kind of, bring all this full circle. But I'm going to pause real quick and see if I can get any feedback in the chat. See if there's any questions that I need to answer. Which value proposition, in your opinion, is the most efficient for someone who's just starting out? So, I missed. Well, yeah, you just asked that question a minute ago. So, the one that I would really, it really depends on how much nest egg that you have, right? If you have a little bit of money to invest in yourself and to invest in your skill, right? Then, I would say that retainer model is going to be a good model for you, because with that, usually on a retainer model, typically how that shakes out is you're charging X amount of dollars per month for those individuals to have your services and your management. Normally you'd be running it. There's two ways that you can do it. You would run it from your own ad account, right? So if you're running it from your own ad account, then your retainer client is not privy to your ad account. You would have to have the financial resources in order to spend your own ad dollars on your own ad account in order to generate a lead at presumably or hopefully the lowest possible price, not sacrificing quality, and being able to sell it at a retail price point. Retail price point, and really our markets here, we're not going after the sun runs here in this conversation. So they're the medium-sized solar companies that are most ideal, that spend, $100,000, $150,000 per month on lead gen, right? They're used to paying retail price point. So if you would refer to my document that I sent out to the group, or those of you that were interested in it, and if you didn't get it, just say me and I'll make sure that you get it. Those retail price points, there's plenty in there for you to be able to make a healthy margin, assuming that we can generate leads at a decent cost. Retainer model is never anything that's new to these organizations. Everybody tends to operate on a retainer model because it is the safest bet, right? You're basically fee for service. You're using, your ad spend, and you're profiting. Now, the same thing exists, retainer model, where you are actually, charging a retainer, and then instead of using your own ad account, you are using their ad account, right? So in this scenario, and we do them both, but in this scenario, not only are they responsible for the retainer, right, but they're also responsible for their own ad spend. And whatever the lead cost is, it's absolutely transparent to that client, because you're using an ad account that they have given you business, manager access to, right? So you're a partner into that ad account in the way that you would set that up. If that doesn't make sense to you guys, just say it doesn't make sense, and then I'll notate that, because that's a different topic on the proper setup, for these accounts, and then we can get some training out to you about that. So in this scenario that I'm talking about here, retainer model, their ad account, they're paying you retainer. It is their ad account. They're also funding their ad account, and then they're giving you a parameter to work with as far as a daily ad spend or a monthly ad spend. So in this model, they see it all. It's their ad account. You may run and manage it, and they may never go in it, but it is their ad account. It's their asset. It's not yours. You're simply, a user in the ad account running the ads. Now, in this model, whatever the cost of the lead is the cost of the lead. It's your job to try to lower that cost as best as possible and run the ads efficiently. And then you're getting paid a retainer. Now, typically, it's not unheard of to charge 30% of on a management fee for, say, a $10,000 ad spend per month. That's typical, but you can choose for yourself. So the math on that is, if they spend $10,000 in a month, it would cost them $3,000 just for your service, right? So if you want to go that route, those are some brass tacks numbers that you can kind of run with and work your way down in your negotiation. But typically a 30% would be right in alignment with what the industry norm would be, right, for running ads, for an agency running ads for a client. So Matthew, those two options are going to be options that you can pitch. Like if you have your own ad spend, and if you have a nest egg that you want to play with, you don't necessarily have to give that transparency over to them. You don't have to use their ad account. And there is a benefit to using your own ad account if you have enough money to be able to spend, because it feeds, all of those conversions feed your ad account, right? And that is an asset for you that you're building up as you continue to grow your network of individuals that you're supplying leads to. That asset gets stronger and stronger based on the amount of money that you push through the ad account, based on the amount of conversions that take place over there. That's kind of the name of the game there, right? So yeah, and if I were to choose, I mean, I would say that that's probably the best way to go. It's the safest way to go, because you are going to, you're going to get the benefits of running and getting paid at the same time with the retainer model. So the other option is the pay per lead, right? And there's going to be many individuals out there that simply love the fact that you're pay per lead, because everybody hates retainer, but they continue to pay for retainer again and again and again. Organizations are frustrated because, there are a lot of bad lead gen providers out there, but that frustration is nothing but opportunity for you if you can figure it out, right? So, and word travels fast in the industry. If you're good at what you do, I mean, that word is going to travel fast, and you're going to have more and more opportunities. So with that being said, pay per lead is going to be always the easiest conversation for you to get new clients, right? Oh, I don't have to pay you a retainer. I can just operate on a pay per lead. Sign me up, right? But in order to do that successfully, you have to be able to have established, or be willing to establish, spending a little bit of money in order to, to feed a initial client in a certain market, right? So let's say that market was Orlando, Florida, and I'm new to this, and so I'm operating on a pay per lead with a new client, and I give them retail price point of anywhere from $75 to $90 for an exclusive lead in the Orlando market, which is, it's right there. That is retail price point. That's not going to be sticker shock for anybody that has any experience. So it's up to me at that point to generate those leads for that organization, control my own budget, control my own cost, not sacrificing quality as best as I possibly can, generating a lead so that I can make as much margin as possible. When the lead is generated inside of my ad account, I simply distribute that onto them, and they're going to be charged for that lead. Pay per lead is always a no-brainer. People are going to want to sign up for that. And that's why I really like the ping tree so much, because it allows for you to have volume scale at the, basically toggling switches, right? You can have a lot of volume, a ton of volume, specifically if you get involved in a ping tree, and that'll afford you the opportunity to be able to sell on a straight pay per lead. You know, those are advanced conversations, and we're going to get to that later, of course. And if you are curious about the ping tree, just make a note here so that I can know to get back with you more on more in-depth training on that. So I had a question here: how much of a nest egg should we start with? I would say that, like, if you're going to start to run ads for yourself, and assuming that you have a client willing to accept them opportunities for you, it really depends on size of geographical region. But I would say that you would want to spend at least $1,000 in a given month's time, with the expectation that you're not going to hit the ball out of the park in the beginning, right? At the end of the day, you need to spend a little bit of money in your ad accounts in order to feed the ad account what it needs in order to be successful for you. So how much of a nest egg is really a hard question to answer, because obviously if you're only operating with $200 of ad spend, I mean, you may blow that $200 and not have any results. But if you operate with $1,000, $1,500, $2,000, you should be able to get some decent data. You should be able to get some conversions, right? Especially if you know what you're doing, in the market. And for you guys, there's going to be plenty of training here that's going to try to, as best as I can, guide you along. Of course, the training course is also available to you. I'm going to plug that because right now it is that low bar amount of $349. That pricing is going to change, but I'm just trying to get individuals involved, right? So that we can actually get feedback and I can make the course better. As it stands right now, there's 30 something modules and several hours of training there. So I have a message here. What are your thoughts on setup fees for pay-per-lead model? Well, I mean, normally I don't charge setup fees, right? I've heard of people doing this, and to be honest with you, I don't have the experience in pitching setup fees, and I mean, it's just never something that we've done. If we're operating on a retainer, we're going to get a healthy retainer in month 1 to begin. They're going to pay for it up front. And our setup is pretty well dialed in. Once you have your setup, then, it's repeatable, right? And I'm speaking to involving our SaaS on our Go High Level account, the distribution of the leads, as far as setting up their ad account, or setting up your partner account into their ad account. I mean, we typically that's all par for the course. And so we go through that, in order to service the client. So we don't normally provide specifically setup fees. And I would ask you too, like, is there anything specific that you're doing in your setup fee that you feel you should be charging for? So because your process may be different than ours. Are there solar networks that we can generate leads for to practice running ads for? Yeah, I mean, to practice running ads for, it would be, you would have to have a conversation, and your typical conversation, the people that are going to bite on that may be a solar rep, right? Or a solar sales and marketing company. They would be willing to front some ad spend, allowing you to practice if you're able to speak to the industry and they have a good feeling about what the potential relationship should be. There's always variances in conversations, because you as a salesperson, when you're talking to these individuals, you're going to have your value proposition. You're going to be either convincing about it or not, so if you can get someone to to have faith enough in you because they have a good feeling about you in order to front ad spend for you. And that goes back to that whole you know, the avatar, which was fee plus back end payment, right? Normally, that's what type of, you know, that's what you would have to do in order to be able to have this scenario happen, right? Solar network, practice generating leads, and running ads for them, right? Typically, that conversation would be, how about a smaller fee up front just to cover my some of my time and costs, and then on the back end, let's just track it and provide me X amount on every sale. You're going to get people that are right on that, right? And you're going to be able to have the benefit of practice and experience. And that goes a long way, you know, because if you don't have the money to invest in this right away, you want to use other people's money when it feels good to those other people, right? So that's all in your sales process. So if that's the route you want to go, don't hesitate to pitch that and just refine that value proposition as best as you can, right? And understand the industry so that you can speak to it well. Good questions. Are there any other questions? If not, I'm going to move on to just a quick thing, and then we'll be wrapping up here shortly. But this is a pretty important thing that I wanted to illustrate to you guys upcoming. Any other questions? Are we good? Doesn't seem like we have any other questions. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and move right on over here into Wistia, right? Can you guys see this okay? I'm assuming you can. Akin, direct message me if you can't. All right, so let me bring this to the top and let's explain what we're looking at here, right? So if I go back to my project now, what I'm in is Wistia. You know, I use Wistia quite a bit. I record just about everything, right? I have probably hundreds of recordings of sales calls that I have done on each one of those various models that I have explained to you, right? Because I like to be able to do a Zoom call or a Google Meets. I record it. I always tell them, do you mind if I recorded this for the benefit of you guys? Because I can send this over to you. That way you don't miss anything. You can go back and rewatch it. But really what I'm trying to do is to just catalog every conversation that I have. And I oftentimes use Wistia, especially for my marketing. You know, whenever I build a funnel and I create videos, I'm a real big proponent of wasting as little time in the sales call as possible, right? So I want to try to indoctrinate them and give them enough face time with me through video to be able to innately build some sort of a rapport and have them have a real good understanding of what our pitch is, what our value propositions are, what the options are before they ever get on a sales call with me. If you do this, you're going to minimize a whole lot of time spent talking to a lot of people, and you're going to get some valuable insight into it, right? So what I have here is a project in Wistia that is called Pay-Per-Lead Explainer Videos. And I'm going to scroll down here. When we launched this and I launched traffic to it, you know, it started here with video one, right? So if you can imagine the landing page, and I showed this in my training, right? I showed the landing page, one of the funnels that I use to step by step, topic by topic, walk them through our value proposition so that everything is so clear to them that by the time they actually book an appointment with me, they're practically already sold. If they've seen the videos and they book an appointment, then all it is just answering a few questions and letting them know what the next step is, right? So with that being said here, you know, starting at video one, all of these were present on the lander, even down to, if I click on show more here, even down to the testimonials. These testimonials from individuals that we've worked with to a high degree of success were present on the lander too. But you can see here what's most important to these individuals, right? Video one was at the top of the landing page, and it was pay per lead, right? Pay per lead for the win, and the 1 minute pitch. This is the synopsis. This got 1.1 thousand plays from individuals that seen the landing page and actually took action to understand more about this video one. Now, video two came in second as far as number of plays, right? The overview and how our pay per lead program works. So this is the 1 minute pitch. This one is 13 minutes long. This one's a minute 54. This one's 13 minutes, 53 seconds. We had 686 plays on this. Video 3, our premium lead quality explained. Still, I mean, we had 471 plays, so people are definitely interested in that. Video 4, CRM, call center and prospector services, had 324. Our guarantee and roadmap to success, there was 319. A word about the testimonials. This was a pre-recorded deep dive group demo sales call where I had maybe 10 individual companies on there, and I'm walking through the whole thing. So it is basically the sales call. I'm just giving them the sales call, right? If you're interested, you're going to watch this and you're going to book an appointment with me, right? And then my job will be easy. So here, 309 people watched it, but interestingly enough, the testimonials here had the least amount of views, right? So when they watched all of this and they get a real good feeling about this, oftentimes they don't even need to view the testimonials, which are absolutely real testimonials from people that have been excited working with us and had a lot of success. It didn't matter so much to these new clients. And here, if I go into this video 1 and I look at this 1 minute video and I look at the analytics here for this, you look at the engagement, right? This means they watched 100% of the video, right? So you can look at the heat maps here, and it's a short video. It's 2 minutes long, but they're already in my funnel. They landed from the lander. They came by way of an ad that I ran, right? They hit the landing page, and they got that 2 minute synopsis, and they were more than happy to watch the entirety of it. Where you see the dark yellows and the oranges and all of that, that's when they watched it multiple times, right? So the point that I want to make here is if you can get good at understanding this industry, right? If you get good at just understanding the way it works, then you're going to be able to speak to your value proposition. I would highly recommend video. I would highly recommend using Wistia because you can use those heat maps to understand for yourself, is your message being listened to, right? Or at what point do they fall off? But you want to incorporate indoctrination into your sales psychology so that when you get on the actual sales call, they're already understanding all elements of what it is that you're providing. And at that point, they just want to figure out how to move forward, right? So that's really what I wanted to kind of bring to life here. Number 1, it's super important to understand who you're talking to. Number 2, identify the value proposition that you want to pitch. Number 3, create a series of videos explaining that, put it on a landing page so that you can drive traffic to it. Number 4, use the data that you see in a tool like Wistia to be able to understand what people are interested in, right? And how much of your content they are actually consuming before they hop on a sales call opportunity for you. The B2B side of things is something that excites me just as much as generating leads, and I could speak to B2B at length, ad nauseum. I'm going to continue to add this B2B type of training to the pre-existing training that's available. So those modules are going to continue to grow because I think that it's just a deep topic. And if you're going to be successful at this, not only do you need to be successful at obviously being able to acquire homeowners' interest, i.e. leads, but you need to really learn to be successful also to acquire a B2B business, right? Two very different things, but the same skill set really can be applied to both. Makes sense? All right. So in closing, guys, and I appreciate it because we ran over a little bit. I hope that this has been helpful. Sorry about the technical issues in the very beginning. If it has been helpful for you, let me know in the chat. If you have any questions right now would be the time so that I could just do that before we hop off. So if there's anybody that has any questions, please let me know. I have a record of everybody here. If you guys want to book a call with me, obviously you can do that. Go to solarsavingsUSA.com, kind of follow the funnel or whatever, and book a call with me. And we could always talk. But does anybody have any questions in closing that I might be able to clarify or anything that I could do before we hop off? Awesome. Thank you, man. I appreciate you enjoying the content, man. And to answer your question, will this Zoom meeting be available later for our reference? Yeah, I'm going to go ahead. It certainly will be for your reference because it's going to be probably a part of the training after I edit it down because we jumped from from room to room. So I'll have to edit it, but I'll make this available to you guys that are here present on this, and I'll probably end up posting it once it's edited too inside of the group, just so that everybody can see it if they need to. All right. Well, everybody, thank you so much for your time today and for your presence. I really appreciate you guys. Akin, thank you for saying you learned a lot. Appreciate it. Matthew, appreciate you. Rich, I hope this was useful for you as well. Joe, same. And yep, you're welcome, Joe. Everybody, thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and stop this now, and we'll catch you down the road. Okay. Take care.